All right, Steve, thanks very much. Well, the Common Core meeting is being held right now in Albany, and as we've covered here on CBS 6, meetings like it were canceled across the state after an unruly one in Poughkeepsie 2 weeks ago. But are these unruly meetings becoming more of a trend here in New York State? It's an interesting topic. We're going to talk about it now with our political analyst, New York Post state editor, Fred Dicker. And Fred, we should point out that at last check, and we certainly covered the story extensively at 5 o'clock, it was anything but unruly in Albany. That, according to Pat Bailey, who was there inside and outside the meeting, there were no signs of protesters in either location. So that's kind of interesting. But we do know that Poughkeepsie was anything but calm and collected. So what are your thoughts on this?
You're absolutely right. I was watching some of it on a webcast, and it was reasonably calm. The idea of public hearings, public meetings are obviously very important in a democracy. The sad news is that John King, the education commissioner, and other public officials in recent years, when there have been disruptions, haven't done anything about them, or in the case of John King, ran for cover. He announced that he was canceling all those meetings. He was forced to back down on that. But it seems to me it's a two-part trend that is very disturbing. One is the cowardliness of public officials. When you have a disruption, you just arrest the people and take them out. Rather than do that, you don't cancel a meeting, or meetings, which is what John King initially did until he was told by the regents to reverse that decision. But also here in Albany, whether it's at the state capitol the last few years, Liz, where people have been running literally riot through the halls, disrupting people's work. I mean, this, after all, is a Capitol is a place of office business for some of the most important officials of this state. Or say on the park down in downtown Albany, when we had the Occupy Albany movement, where they illegally took over a park, and then the public officials, whether it was Mayor Jennings or the DA Soares, didn't want to do anything about it. There's an encouragement, a climate of encouragement of these kinds of disruptions. We're seeing more of them. It's bad for democracy. It suggests that the public officials are weak. And these different groups, whatever they may be, oftentimes they're on the left side of the political spectrum, but not always. But these groups are well aware of that and are seeking to exploit that.
What do you think it speaks to, Fred? I mean, on the one hand, I suppose it's good to see civic involvement in issues that people feel passionate about. On the other hand, you want them to draw a line between passion and law breaking. But
it speaks to a lack of civility and a tactical decision that more and more groups are making, that if they want to get the headlines, if they want us to talk about it on TV or get into the papers, they've got to do something that's dramatic. Look, remember ACT UP, the anti-AIDS group, which became in a way so effective, even as they were so obnoxious, disrupting public events, but they got their issue to the fore. Governor Cuomo now, by many accounts, and I've written about this, is afraid of having his campaign for re-election next year disrupted by the anti-hydro frackers, and that's one of the reasons he's put off a decision on fracking. They've told him that if he gives the green light on this, they're going to follow him around all over the place during his campaign and disrupt it. So we have more and more, it seems to me, Liz, public officials afraid of the activists rather than individuals who are prepared as elected officials to stand up to them.
Interesting thoughts, and as always, from Fred Dicker. And Fred's on the radio with more interesting thoughts live from the state capitol, weekday mornings 10 to 11 on Talk 1300 AM. Thanks, Fred.